Waves battered Chloe Riddell's motorboat as she steered around the imposing ruins on Koster Isle. The roof of the old boathouse draped precariously low. The castle above it had been built on granite, withstanding almost a century of storms. But one swift uppercut of wind could overturn her and Lolly, the mahogany runabout that her grandfather had built 40 years ago. In good weather, it only took 15 minutes to cross from the village of Clayton to her island, but she'd already been battling the river for a half hour. Soon, she hoped, she'd be tucked away in her cottage with a mug of hot chocolate and a crackling fire, and 2 sweet dogs who slept on her bedroom floor. Even if they lost electricity, her home was a safe place in a gale. But the river wasn't safe, especially on a night like this. The St. Lawrence threw punches on all sides as its steel-blue waters curled and snaked between island pods. While river rats like her had learned to respect the whims of its fists, it still took every bit of concentration to duck its nasty hooks and the jabs aimed at Lolly's hull. If she fell tonight, Grandpa Cade's runabout would join the vast graveyard of ships below the surface, buried in the St. Lawrence sand, and it would take everything within her to climb the rocks on the shoreline. Like a musk turtle, she thought, shimmying up to sun. Jenna, her best friend and business partner, had begged her to spend the night in the apartment that Chloe kept over Cade's candy shop. But in spite of the dark clouds, the rumble of thunder downstream, she'd needed to return to her cottage on the island. While she couldn't explain the urgency, she'd learned over the past 30 years to follow the whispers inside her head. God whispers, Nana had called them. But she hadn't expected his whisper to lead her straight into a storm. Chloe throttled back to surf over an icy wave as it battered her slicker, soaking her face and hands. Neither the voices nor this gale would take her down tonight. "Come on, Lolly," she shouted as they rode another wave. Locals liked to name their boats for the whimsical, perhaps in an effort to ward off fear. The good ship Lollipop was what Grandpa Cade had christened his prized speedboat with the red candy-striped vinyl seats, named for a trip to the candy shop that Shirley Temple sang about on the silver screen. Decades ago, when custom boats were prized as works of art, as well as modes of transportation, Riddell Boats had constructed scores of beautifully crafted and varnished runabouts in Clayton. But most people wanted fiberglass now, or aluminum, or even inflatable boats. Easy to maintain. Reliable. Quick to sell for a good price. People didn't care like they used to about craftsmanship. Before her grandfather had died, he wanted to build one last boat to call his own. Then he'd passed old Lolly onto her. A shudder quaked across her chest as another hulking wave roiled toward her, black water sparking green in the sidelight. One hand clutching the wheel, the other on her throttle. She and Lolly had been flung back into the ring. As the storm pressed against her, trying to corner them against the island's rocky shoreline, Chloe shoved the throttle so the wind wouldn't pin her against the rocks, or plunge her into the frigid bay, or push her into Canadian waters. With winds blowing northeast toward the Atlantic, 1,000 miles upriver, she'd be halfway to Montreal by morning if she didn't fight back with a fury. The gale frothed around the bow and whipped off the hood of her slicker, unfurling it like a sail. Her drenched hair wrapped around her head like a turban, but she wouldn't release the wheel or throttle to untangle it. Only a few more minutes now, and she'd be home.